And I want to read a prophecy about this place. In Ezekiel chapter 11, verse 22 says, "So the cherubim lifted up their wings with the wheels beside them, and the glory of the God of Israel was high above them. And the glory of the Lord went up from the midst of the city and stood on the mountain, which is on the east side of the city."
What a powerful prophecy, guy. That's right. We see temple was here and glory of God lifted up and went all the way to the Mount of Olives and covered Mount of Olives. We're standing above Mount of Olives. When Jesus ascended, the cloud of glory took him, and we see the connection between this prophecy of open vision of God's glory. So God's glory was shown here on this place. But let's go back to words of Jesus and stories of Jesus. At the last day of life of Jesus as a free man, before he was arrested, he did his last supper, Passover meal, right here on the Mount of Olives. And it says after the Passover meal, after powerful teaching about New Covenant, he came here on the Mount of Olives. He was here in the garden among the olive trees like we are now. And he was praying and he was crying. And the Bible said his face was covered with the sweat and blood and tears, and he was crying for the way he needed to do, for the journey he needed to accomplish, for his work, but also he was praying for you and me. He was praying for us. He suffered even before cross. He suffered. He really prayed very strong, and it's remind us that the same place when Jesus liked to spend time, had pleasure with his disciples, studied the Bible, prophesied about last days, in the very same place he also was crying to the Lord and praying with the tears and pain. And eventually from here he was arrested, taken to captivity, and then he was crucified. What a glorious place. All these mountains, all these trees remind us such a glorious story of Jesus. So there's powerful prophecy in the book of Zechariah, chapter 14, verse 4 says, "And in that day his feet will stand on the Mount of Olives, which faces Jerusalem on the east." So right behind us, Jerusalem, on the east, right here, Mount of Olives, and it says that his feet will stand on this mountain. It's going to be a glorious event, right?
Yeah, it is. It's going to be so powerful.
And the Mount of Olives shall be split in two from east to west, making very large valley. Half of the mountain shall move toward the north and half of the mountain toward the south. That's a powerful event. And we also see in the Bible that from Jerusalem, verse 8, from Jerusalem, living water will come down all the way through the splitted mountain. Can you imagine, guy? This mountain will split to two halves. And like Bible said in Isaiah 2:2, every mountain will bow down and Mount of Jerusalem will be raised up. So we see geological and topographical changes will take place, right? Did I say it right? So it's a powerful event, but this mountain will be shaken. And it's important to speak about Zechariah because when apostles were talking with Jesus for the last time before his ascension, they remembered this prophecy, they knew these prophecies, and now they speak with Jesus, who was going up to heaven, and they remember what prophets prophesied.
It's going to be a glorious time when Jesus will come back to rule the earth.
And the very last story of apostles, when they saw Jesus for the last time here on the Mount of Olives, they were talking, and he gave him commandment, go and preach the gospel, stay in Jerusalem for a while, you'll receive power, and then go and preach the gospel to all the nations, and I will be with you. Saying these words, like it's written in the book of Zechariah, he ascended up, and glory of the God, of the Lord, just received him. The cloud received him, exactly like in the book of Ezekiel. We see glory of God were on this place, right? So it's going to be, it was very powerful event. Jesus came up from this place, and angels spoke to apostles. Even angels spoke to apostles on the Mount of Olives, telling them, come on, do what he said to do. Go and act. Praise the Lord for glory of God and for such a wonderful event, because those words still affecting our life until today. And we're coming closer and closer to glorious events written in the Bible, which is mean God is releasing his glory and his blessings over your life, and he going you power and instructions how to serve him, love him, and be ready for his return to Jerusalem for all the nations and for you.